This is a bitch, bro. I don't give a f what none of y'all saying.
Trippie Redd just pressed play and dropped a chilling clip showing 6ix9ine behind bars. The post hit timelines fast, and at first, people brushed it off as another online stunt. But one unsettling detail in that footage had viewers running it back twice, zooming in, trying to catch what they missed. That's when the mood shifted. The clip collided with real-world events in a way nobody expected. On January 6th, 2026, Daniel Hernandez, known worldwide as Tekashi 6ix9ine, turned himself into federal custody at MDC Brooklyn. This wasn't random either. He was ordered to serve a 3-month sentence tied to a supervised release violation connected to his 2019 racketeering case.
Me and Trippie Redd, right? When I meet Trippie Redd, right, I take a flight to do an Adam 22 interview, right? I met him in New York. I told him I needed an interview. He probably like, yo, who's this underground rapper trying to get an interview with me, right?
Yeah, he did your first interview, right?
That didn't answer my call, but thank God he didn't answer my call, right?
And nothing about that moment was low-key. 6ix9ine broadcast the whole surrender live, with streamer Adin Ross riding along as agents stepped in and took control. It felt loud, dramatic, almost staged. Within hours, clips were everywhere, spreading across platforms at lightning speed.
So Andrew, who's Tribe Drew, said, yo, bro, you should do a song with this kid. He's hot on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
So I hit him up on Instagram. He's like, yo, I'm actually a big fan of you. Let's meet up. I really didn't want to do a song with the nigga because I didn't like the nigga. Andrew liked the nigga, you know what I mean?
Right before processing, cameras surrounded him as he joked around, cracking comments about which famous inmates he might cross paths with. He even laughed about possibly sharing space with names like Nicolas Maduro and Luigi Mangione. The energy screamed performance, chasing attention till the very last second. But beneath all that bravado, the reality clearly started to sink in. This wasn't 6ix9ine's first time walking through MDC Brooklyn doors. He'd already been held there during his federal racketeering case back in 2018 and 2019. But this return hit different. This time, it wasn't about a new case. It was about a repeated pattern that Judge Paul Engelmeyer flat out called him out for, saying he kept messing up despite getting more chances than most people ever would.
I don't support bullies or rapists.
Every violation was laid out, documented, and impossible to deny. In October 2024, 6ix9ine was detained in New York after failing multiple drug tests, testing positive for meth and Adderall. On top of that, he traveled to Las Vegas and the Dominican Republic without permission and didn't even notify his probation officer about being detained overseas. Authorities held him for 2 full weeks, no shortcuts. Then, November 2024 rolled around and the consequences stacked up fast. He was handed a 45-day sentence tied directly to those violations. And just when it seemed like things couldn't spiral further, December 2025 brought another blow.
And when we do the song, the next day he's like, yo, let's shoot the video. So I'm like, I ain't got no money. Like, you know what I mean? But I ain't tell him that, you know what I mean? My team know I ain't got no money. I say, all right, bro, you gotta pay for everything. He's like, all right, I got it. So he takes us to the desert. He pays like $200 for the ATV excursion. Remember in the desert?
Yeah, right.
We tell the dude, yo, we gonna shoot a video real quick. We shot the video. And then when the video goes up, they start going crazy.
A 90-day sentence for continued violations, including ongoing drug use, failing to report his Dominican Republic arrests, and skipping required community service. By January 2026, the pattern was undeniable. The surrender footage pulled millions of views, showing a once chart-topping rapper being processed right back into federal custody. For anyone who's followed the 6ix9ine saga from day one, that image hit heavy, and it carried serious weight for Trippie Redd too. But this clip means way more than just another viral moment. There's real history here, and it runs deep. Trippie Redd and 6ix9ine weren't always on opposite sides. Back in 2017, they were working together, making music, signed under the same label, moving like a unit with momentum behind them. That partnership didn't last long though. Things went left when 6ix9ine became tied to an incident involving Trippie at a New York hotel lobby, something he later admitted to during his federal case. That moment shattered whatever was left between them and turned business ties into personal fallout. After that, the situation stayed loud. 50 Cent spent years publicly mocking 6ix9ine, replaying moments from his courtroom appearances and bringing up that hotel incident anytime the topic came up. It became part of the public narrative, a stain that never really faded. Fast forward to now, and the contrast couldn't be sharper. Trippie Redd is still releasing music, hitting stages, and staying active outside. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine is sitting at MDC Brooklyn, with no release expected until spring 2026. That surrender footage, the live stream, the jokes, the handoff to federal custody, is now the latest visual chapter in a rivalry that's been brewing for nearly a decade. And to really grasp why this moment lands so hard, why Trippie Redd's reaction carries weight, you have to rewind all the way back. Back to 2017, back to studio sessions on Sunset Boulevard, an Airbnb in Venice Beach, and a pivotal meeting at 888 Wilshire with Elliot Grange, where everything quietly started to unravel. You really gotta understand what they built before everything fell apart. This didn't start with tension.
I already told you, bro. You just keep doing it, bro. I don't know why you hate on me so much, bro. You lit, bro. You know what I mean? Your music is lit, bro. You signed to the same label, you still hate on me. You try to throw dirt on my name. You try to tell people not to work with me, bro. Man, bro, that's mad corny, bro. Nobody try to blackmail you, bro. Like, you act like a real female, bro.
It started with a record, a track called Polls 1469, the collaboration that lit the fuse back in 2017. That was the era when the SoundCloud wave was moving at warp speed, creating new stars faster than anyone could track. Out of that chaos came two young artists with face tattoos, wild hair, and nothing to lose. At first, they were connected through music, ambition, and momentum. Later, that connection twisted into conflict, headlines, and one of the longest-running fallouts in modern hip-hop history. Trippie Redd, born Michael Lamar White, was already buzzing in the underground. His sound was emotional, raw, and pulling listeners in fast. On the other side, Daniel Hernandez, better known as 6ix9ine, was grinding non-stop in New York. He was filming and editing his own videos, piecing together money from random jobs just to afford flights to Los Angeles, chasing interviews and collabs that might finally open doors.
You seen the jealousy coming. You don't gotta say the jealousy is loud. It's loud. Trippie got jealous. Why else come at me? We was friends. Why else? You tell me.
Well, not only were you friends, but you guys had commercial success.
Commercial success. So why hate on me?
Yeah, I don't get it.
You don't get it? I don't either.
Huh.
Out of nowhere, he just called me a foul.
That link between them came through Adam22 and the No Jumper platform, which at the time had serious pull over the SoundCloud generation. 6ix9ine has told this story more than once, explaining how he flew out to LA using money he earned filming a video for someone at Home Depot, only for Adam22 to suddenly go silent once he landed. That moment right there, it wasn't just frustrating, it set the tone. Missed calls, crossed paths, and unchecked egos quietly stacked up, laying the groundwork for everything that came after.
Everybody, listen, apart Trippie Redd, there you go telling the truth again, there you go Stitch. All these rappers bad baby while she was underage. Come on, next thing. She knows it, they know it. But you know what? No, we like them. They kids.
It was Adam22's close friend Andrew, known as Trippie Drew, who really sparked the idea that changed everything. He planted the seed in 6ix9ine's head with a simple suggestion that ended up flipping both of their paths upside down. The pitch was basic but powerful. There was an artist named Trippie Redd going wild on SoundCloud, and maybe 6ix9ine should tap in, hit his DMs, and build something together. That suggestion turned into a late-night session at Hitway Studios, where they put together Polls 1469. That record became the moment that pushed both of them forward in the fast-moving SoundCloud rap scene. The chemistry felt instant. Trippie Redd was ready to film a video the very next day, moving with urgency and confidence. 6ix9ine, who was low on funds at the time but never let that show, agreed to move forward under one condition. Trippie would cover the costs. They packed up and headed out to the desert, where Trippie dropped a few $100s on an ATV experience and turned what was supposed to be a casual outing into a full creative rollout.
Gummo came out September, October. Y'all came up with the date, right? September, October 2017. Bro, if Gummo never, and you know Gummo's a Trippie Redd this, right?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
KB was his enforcer. KB was his shotty.
The video was recorded during that trip, blending raw energy with quick thinking. 6ix9ine put those editing skills he'd been sharpening through earlier hustles to work, cutting the entire video together that same night and releasing it the very next day. The reaction was way bigger than either of them expected. Views climbed fast, buzz exploded, and the clip landed on the radar of Elliot Grange, son of Lucian Grange and the executive who had already signed Trippie Redd. Not long after, Elliot reached out through mutual connections, asking for a face-to-face meeting with 6ix9ine at his office at 888 Wilshire. A meeting that would change everything. Talk. It ended with 6ix9ine signing to Elliot Grange around July or August of 2017. Just like that, he landed on the exact same label as Trippie Redd. On paper, it looked like a win across the board. Two rising artists from the same SoundCloud wave, already proven they could make heat together, now backed by the same industry machine. They kept the momentum rolling fast. After Pole's 1469, they followed up with another collaboration, OE, tightening their commercial partnership even more. From the outside, it looked like the start of something serious, almost inevitable. Both had similar aesthetics too. Face tattoos, wild hair colors, loud energy, and that raw SoundCloud sound pushing them forward together. Industry insiders were watching closely, whispering that these two might be the next wave shaping the culture. But beneath all that hype, tension was already creeping in. By 6ix9ine's own later admission, jealousy started settling between them. Same label, same resources, same spotlight. And as 6ix9ine's visibility kept rising, the balance between them shifted in ways that couldn't be ignored anymore. What began as a creative link in a Sunset Boulevard studio was quietly sliding toward collapse. That partnership was on track to turn into something far more damaging, filled with fallout, finger-pointing, and consequences neither of them saw coming at the time.
Were you actually there when it happened?
Yes, I was there. I was on the corner.
Can you describe what happens?
Yeah, I pled guilty to it.
Okay, so let's go.
So let's give the fans what. So like I said, I pled guilty to the shit. The nigga has a music video. I get the call. The nigga's here. I said, I bet I'm on my way. I think I explained the story on another, I think on Breakfast Club. Anyway, long story short, I follow him. He in a big sprint. I follow him. When I follow him, he stops in front of his hotel. Jump out, 50 niggas looking around like, what's up? So he's like, yo, what's poppin'? What's poppin'? Peace up, yo, what's poppin'?
The relationship between Trippie Redd and 6ix9ine didn't fade out quietly. It blew up in full public view. This was the kind of internet-era spectacle both artists were almost built for. What once looked like a solid creative partnership unraveled fast into a messy back and forth filled with accusations that kept getting heavier. The first major crack went public when Trippie Redd jumped on social media and labeled 6ix9ine a file in front of everyone. That claim pointed to 6ix9ine's 2015 legal case, which involved serious allegations, probation, registration requirements, and court-ordered counseling tied to conduct involving a minor.
Trippie's in the midst of 30 people. It's 4 of us. It's 4 of us. Trippie's in the midst of 30 people. Remember, I pled guilty to this shit was set in court. Just rocked Trippie's grills out his mouth, like his grills flew 10 feet in the air. Word to my mom, his grills, that went through the revolving doors. He came in spinning and left spinning.
It was a sensitive part of his past that had already followed him for years. Trippie's statement was blunt and left no room for interpretation. He posted, "I'm sorry, bro, 1,400 don't promote files." That line landed hard. It dragged 6ix9ine's legal history back into the spotlight, something critics had used against him before, but never this openly from someone he once worked with. For Trippie to air that out publicly, after collaborations and sharing the same label, marked a clear line in the sand. Whatever connection they had was officially over, no turning back. 6ix9ine's response came exactly how people expected. Leaning into the confrontational image he'd been building, he filmed a video from his car, eating, talking directly to the camera. His tone bounced between confusion and aggression as he addressed Trippie's claims head on, making it clear the situation was no longer just music. It was personal now.
I'll get into the hotel. It's a talk about, I'm 9 Trey, blah, blah, blah. So I'll go to that nigga up, and it's a next to him, bro. And it stole on me and hit me in my mouth. Because this is the only thing that happened to Trippie Redd, bro. The nigga hit me one time, bro. And then my niggas beat their ass.
Yo, just punched me in my mouth. Just hit me. Fuck 6ix9ine. Like, bro, come on.
People were seriously confused watching this fall apart. Two artists who had just dropped successful collaborations, signed to the same label, positioned to win together, and suddenly everything flipped. Fans kept asking the same question over and over. What made things go left this fast? 6ix9ine has given the same explanation in interviews ever since. He pointed straight to jealousy. According to him, as his visibility grew and more label attention started shifting his direction, the dynamic changed. He claimed Trippie Redd couldn't deal with the competition, and tension started building behind the scenes.
What is the situation with you and 6ix9ine right now?
I honestly don't know. It's just the internet. Bro, just keep bringing me up. That's all it is. We already had squash. What we was talking about. He pulled up on me and we talked about that. He wasn't even on nothing I was on because, you know, I'm crazy, you feel me? So I was trying to fight. He wasn't trying to fight. He wanted to talk about it. He wanted to talk it out.
But 6ix9ine didn't just sit back and absorb the criticism. He fired back with accusations of his own, escalating the situation even further. He alleged that Trippie Redd had inappropriate interactions involving a person who was underage at the time. Both Trippie Redd and Pod Bobby publicly denied any wrongdoing, pushing back hard against that narrative. Later on, Pod Bobby acknowledged that a kiss had occurred, but denied anything beyond that, making it clear the situation was being exaggerated online. At that point, the conflict was completely out of control. Accusations were flying in both directions, and the situation moved far beyond normal music rivalry. This wasn't just about records or chart positions anymore. It turned into a public attempt by both sides to tear down each other's image in the most damaging way possible. This situation was never about who rapped better or who had more streams. It turned into a full-blown attempt to tear down credibility and character using the most serious claims imaginable. While all of that chaos was unfolding, 6ix9ine's career was exploding at a wild pace. His single Gummo, released in late 2017, became a breakout moment that pushed him from an underground name into a mainstream force almost overnight. What Trippie Redd may not have realized back then, and what 6ix9ine later admitted openly without hesitation, was that the beat for Gummo originally came from Trippie. That detail added an extra layer of betrayal to an already tense situation. 6ix9ine took a beat Trippie had plans for, flipped it into his biggest hit, and rode that momentum straight into industry dominance, all while publicly clashing with the same artist he took it from. That move changed everything. It wasn't just competitive anymore, it felt calculated and personal. The success of Gummo rewrote the entire power dynamic between them. Even the lyrics carried weight. The reference to KB and Gummo was widely seen as a direct shot at Trippie Redd, a subtle jab embedded into what became 6ix9ine's signature record. And once Gummo went viral, the label situation shifted instantly. Trippie had previously been the priority artist, getting most of the attention and promotional backing. But 6ix9ine's sudden rise flipped the equation completely, and that imbalance only made the fallout messier and harder to contain. The reversal of fortunes was undeniable. 6ix9ine went from being a secondary name on the label to the main focus almost overnight. Trippie Redd, who once had priority, suddenly found himself pushed to the side. The tension 6ix9ine later claimed sparked the fallout now looked flipped. Trippie had every reason to feel a certain way about being replaced, while 6ix9ine openly embraced the new spotlight and power shift. But the accusations and behind-the-scenes label politics were only the opening act. What came next dragged the conflict out of online drama and into real-world consequences, eventually becoming part of official court records for everyone to examine. The situation had already been loaded with toxic energy, public call-outs, stolen production claims, internal favoritism, and non-stop character attacks from both sides. By late 2017, that pressure crossed a serious line. The rivalry stopped being just loud words and internet theatrics and turned into a legal matter that would later be addressed in federal proceedings. At that point, 6ix9ine had aligned himself with a New York street organization that offered protection and an aggressive presence around him. When he learned that Trippie Redd was in New York working on a music video, the situation escalated fast. A group was sent out and an incident unfolded at a New York hotel that changed everything. 6ix9ine has never denied his involvement. In fact, he's spoken about it repeatedly in interviews, recounting the events with unsettling clarity, enough detail to leave no doubt about how serious the fallout had become. What started as a label rivalry had now crossed into territory that couldn't be walked back, marking the moment this feud officially became more than just music drama. He didn't just approve it. By his own later descriptions, he took satisfaction in seeing it play out. The way 6ix9ine broke it down afterward painted a picture where the odds were intentionally tilted not by numbers alone, but by timing and shock value. According to his version, Trippie Redd had a full crowd around him. Crew members, people from the video shoot, familiar faces everywhere. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine and those with him allegedly showed up just 4 deep. On paper, that sounds lopsided. But the surprise factor changed everything fast. The sudden escalation caught everyone off guard. That moment of chaos flipped control instantly, leaving no time for reactions or regrouping. The situation spiraled before anyone could process what was happening. The imagery 6ix9ine later described was intense and deliberately humiliating. He talked about Trippie's grills, those gold dental pieces common in hip-hop, getting knocked loose and scattering across the hotel lobby. He even described Trippie getting pushed through the revolving doors in a way that sounded straight out of a cartoon scene. Whether parts of that story were exaggerated or not, one thing was undeniable. The incident was real enough that 6ix9ine later admitted responsibility during his federal racketeering case. Trippie Redd also went live on Instagram shortly after, downplaying the damage while still confirming that something serious had gone down, locking the moment into internet history forever. The gap between these two stories is huge. 6ix9ine painted a picture of total domination, while Trippie Redd downplayed it, saying it was just one quick hit followed by his people stepping in. Reality usually lives somewhere in the middle, but one thing matters more than opinions. 6ix9ine later admitted in federal proceedings that he ordered the incident, which means it was serious enough to be folded into his racketeering case. That hotel incident marked a point of no return for both of them. Before that moment, the conflict lived online. Accusations flying on social media, diss records dropping on streaming platforms, and tense interviews with hip-hop outlets. Afterward, everything changed. It was no longer just talk. It became physical, documented, and tied to real legal consequences. Trippie Redd's explanation for why it happened doesn't match 6ix9ine's version at all. While 6ix9ine leaned into a jealousy-driven storyline, Trippie suggested the encounter unfolded very differently. When asked directly, "What's the situation with you and 6ix9ine right now?" his response framed the moment as something that escalated unexpectedly. In Trippie's telling, he was prepared to defend himself, while 6ix9ine was supposedly trying to calm things down, a portrayal that directly clashes with 6ix9ine's later, more boastful retellings of the hotel incident. That contradiction only added more confusion, debate, and long-term fallout to a feud that had already gone way too far. The contradictions in their stories perfectly mirror the entire conflict. It was always a tug of war over the narrative. Who started it, who reacted, who should be seen as the aggressor, and who should be viewed as the victim. That back and forth never stopped. But one thing isn't up for debate at all. The incident itself was real. It was later acknowledged by 6ix9ine as something he set in motion, and it became a documented part of a federal case that completely altered his future. That hotel incident wasn't just another chapter in a messy feud. It turned into formal evidence inside a racketeering prosecution, tying personal drama directly to legal consequences. That's where the reckoning began, and where the cooperation label entered the conversation in a way that never left. The November 2018 federal indictment of Tekashi 6ix9ine marked a total collapse of the image he had built. The loud persona, the street credibility, the alliances he bragged about, all of it unraveled at once. The same artist who projected toughness and loyalty was suddenly facing the reality of the federal system with no safety net. The charges laid out were extensive and heavy. Prosecutors alleged involvement in organized criminal activity, coordination of illegal actions, and participation in enterprises that went far beyond music or image. This wasn't about association anymore. It was about alleged direct involvement and responsibility. He was arrested alongside multiple associates and held without bail due to concerns about flight risk and public safety. The case prosecutors built was stacked, detailed, and overwhelming. At that moment, 6ix9ine was staring down the possibility of spending the rest of his life under federal control, with very few options left and no clear escape in sight. He made a choice that would end up defining him just as much as his rainbow hair or his aggressive image ever did. In September 2019, 6ix9ine decided to cooperate with federal prosecutors, a move that permanently changed how the public viewed him. He took the stand and testified against former 9 Trey associates, openly identifying individuals, explaining the group's structure, and detailing how operations were organized. The testimony went deep. He broke everything down step by step, explaining roles, connections, and activities with a level of detail that only someone closely involved could provide. And when it came to the Trippie Redd situation, he didn't dodge it at all. Under oath, he admitted to ordering the hotel incident involving his former collaborator, locking that moment into official court records. That courtroom appearance is where the label that would follow him for the rest of his career was cemented. He gave prosecutors extensive inside information, naming names and laying out events in full, all in exchange for leniency. From a legal perspective, the strategy worked exactly as intended. Instead of facing the most extreme outcome, 6ix9ine received a 24-month sentence, with 13 months already credited, followed by 5 years of supervised release and a $35,000 fine. In April 2020, he was moved to home confinement earlier than expected due to health concerns and the broader COVID-19 situation. For Trippie Redd, the trial carried a different kind of meaning. The same person who had ordered the hotel incident embarrassed him publicly, taken a beat meant for his own work, and mocked him online was now standing in court, cooperating with federal authorities. That shift alone spoke louder than any diss record ever could. That move crossed a line that both artists once claimed they lived by. From Trippie Redd's perspective, it violated the core rules of credibility he believed in. His response was to openly mock 6ix9ine's courtroom moments, doing impressions of his testimony and media appearances, brushing him off as unserious and embarrassing. The power shift was wild. Nothing like what either of them could have imagined back when they were recording Pole's 1469 in that Hollywood studio. By that point, 6ix9ine had reached commercial highs that even surpassed Trippie's at one stage. He dominated headlines, climbed streaming charts, and played a major role in a real-world incident tied to their fallout. But now, that same artist was known primarily for cooperating with federal authorities, testimony that helped secure convictions against people he once stood next to. Since serving time, 6ix9ine has tried repeatedly to revive his career, but the reputation attached to that courtroom moment has never faded. While his music still grabs attention online, the level of dominance he once had hasn't fully returned. More importantly, his legal problems kept stacking up. The pattern that led to his January 2026 return to custody paints a picture of someone struggling or refusing to follow the rules of supervised release. There were multiple incidents along the way, including overseas legal trouble in 2023, a 2024 arrest connected to a court order issue, failed drug tests, and unauthorized travel. Each situation added weight to the perception that he'd been given repeated chances and kept burning them. Judge Paul Engelmeyer, who continued overseeing his case, had already made it clear that patience was running thin and consequences were no longer avoidable. The judge summed it up with clear frustration. He made it known that the defendant kept messing up despite being given chance after chance to straighten things out. The 3-month sentence issued in December 2025, which 6ix9ine began serving on January 6, 2026, wasn't random at all. It was the buildup of years of ignoring rules, skipping responsibilities, and pushing limits finally catching up to him. That footage of 6ix9ine surrendering to federal custody tells the whole story in one frame, live streaming the moment with Adin Ross playing Akon's Locked Up while agents processed him captured the chaotic arc of his entire career. Even in that moment, he treated the situation like content, performing for the cameras while being taken in, still leaning into the provocateur role that defined him from day one. For Trippie Redd, watching all of this play out had to hit differently. The same person who ordered an incident against him was back in federal custody, now serving time for violating the very agreement that reshaped his image forever. That irony is hard to miss. What started in a Hollywood studio escalated into a New York hotel incident, then exploded inside a federal courtroom. Now it's entered yet another chapter. 6ix9ine behind bars, Trippie on the outside, watching from a distance as the story continues to unfold, and the tension still isn't settled. There's been no public peace, no mutual acknowledgement, no attempt to close the book on what happened. 6ix9ine still brings up Trippie during streams and interviews, and Trippie still brushes him off whenever his name comes up. The rivalry never got an ending. It just keeps reloading in new forms. All of this brings the situation full circle. The footage of 6ix9ine surrendering has become yet another artifact in a feud that's generated years of non-stop discussion for hip-hop watchers. What started as two young artists chasing momentum on SoundCloud turned into a real-time lesson on how fast collaboration can rot into hostility, how fame magnifies every move, and how decisions made for credibility can echo for years afterward. As of January 2026, 6ix9ine is sitting at MDC Brooklyn, set to serve his time into early spring. Trippie Redd, on the other hand, continues moving freely, releasing music and staying active without that weight holding him down. The clip keeps circulating, the tension never really cools off, and the story still doesn't have a clean ending. So now the real question is this: was that footage just Trippie trolling for attention, or was it a calculated reminder aimed straight at 6ix9ine in a rivalry that refuses to die? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't hold back. And if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. There's another video waiting on your screen right now, so tap in and I'll see you in the next one.